Good morning, patriots and freedom-loving Americans. Welcome back to America Only. We're going to cover the news today, as always, and we're going to look at Derek Chauvin's backstory and the ongoing investigation of what really happened to George Floyd, and we're going to react to some shitty movie trailers at the end. So anyway, in our news today, Trump seizes a Venezuelan oil tanker, and the interest rate is cut by the Fed. That's it. So we'll make that really quick. The oil tanker story is pretty minuscule, I think, but has far-reaching ramifications. So Venezuela, that socialist shithole of a country in South America, they were bringing oil to Cuba, and U.S. dollars were used in it. And the U.S. has sanctions on Venezuelan goods. We're not allowed to purchase Venezuelan goods. But that restriction has been stretched to say that we can't purchase, it's not the U.S. that just can't purchase, it's anything using U.S. dollars. And Cuba was under that. And so there was this illegal, and I'm doing that in air quotes for a reason, transfer of oil to Cuba, and there's a bunch of members of the Trump administration, different sectors of the government, boarded the ship and seized it, stole the ship from the Venezuelans that were operating it. It was a covert operation. This is a big deal because, as we talked about, the U.S. is ramping up tensions with Venezuela, and mostly because of all the migrants that they're sending in to our country. And obviously, we do not favor socialism, and we do not want a socialist government in South America that's oppressing their people. But wait for it. Don't tune out on me. I am not a neocon. I want to get into why I think this is bogus. Yes, Venezuela is socialist. Yes, it's a horrible country. Do I think that we should have any part in trying to change what they're doing? No. We have creeping socialism in our own country, and we have for 100 years. Government taking more and more and more control over our everyday lives. And we're focused on Venezuela. We are not in a place to dictate what the rest of the world does. We're falling apart right now. And I thought the whole idea of America first is Trump's supposed to focus on the United States first. And he seems to have this delusion that, he's this world peacekeeper. He's the greatest man of all time that needs to get into nations and get his hands involved in everything. And I like Trump, and I think he's been a pretty good president, but the fuck out, dude. Seriously. I mean, why do you care, about what these other nations are doing? And why have we cared for so long when we have so many problems to fix in our own? This sanction thing is ridiculous. I get not wanting to buy Venezuelan goods. I don't get wanting to pressure them to get rid of socialism because it really isn't any of our business. Sanctions, having tariffs on stuff are illegal. Not blocking commerce with any nation, that's not legal. And these official sanctions against Venezuela weren't even put in by Congress. It was put in by the president. And it doesn't just apply to the U.S., but anyone using U.S. dollars. So this whole thing was illegal. Not that it's a huge deal that it was, it's bad that it was illegal. It's not going to hurt us, I don't think, by seizing this oil tanker. But I think it just speaks to the Trump administration, why they're getting very unpopular, is that they're doing things that don't really have any application to us. And that was the whole appeal of the Trump movement. And people like me are sitting here. I was a huge Trump supporter in 2024. I still consider myself to be a Trump supporter, but I'm the one that's willing to call him out when I see something that I don't like. And this kind of meddling in foreign affairs, I really don't care for, and I really don't think is important. And so I'll end that story, but this is just the kind of stuff that pisses me off. Also, here's something that's immediately applicable to you, is that the Fed cut interest rates by 0.25%. If I probably should explain the Fed. I don't know if a lot of people know what it is. It's the number one problem in your life, actually. The Fed is the U.S.'s central bank, so it prints our money supply. There's no restrictions on it. It's an independent bank that the government created, but it has government power, but the government can't control it. It's like a fourth branch of government that has no checks and balances on it. So it prints money as much as it wants, creates inflation. Their target rate is 2% per year. Their reasoning is that if prices don't continue to go up, then people won't buy things because they won't feel the need to buy things immediately because they'll know prices stay the same. We buy based on what we need. I don't think everyone's thinking, oh, prices are going to go up, let's buy it now. That's a sick thing to do, to raise prices at 2% per year. Just shows how much power they have. It's not a good thing. Inflation isn't good. They also control something called the federal funds rate. This is the rate that it implies that other banks must use to borrow from each other. So that directly affects the interest rate that banks use when they loan us money. And if banks don't follow this federal funds rate closely, this interest rate when they borrow from each other, the Fed punishes them. They label them untrustworthy. They try and discourage other banks from borrowing from them. They don't give money to them themselves. We'll have to do a whole series breaking down the Fed. Just know that they're bad. They have a ton of power. They have a ton of power over your money. They can print money endlessly. They create inflation. They have control basically over how much interest you're charged when you want a loan. So those are the main things that you should know right off the bat. And they've kept interest rates really high. Trump's wanted them to cut interest rates because they don't want lots of spending, because they don't want inflation to increase and get out of control, even though they're the ones that create inflation for the most part. They don't want any incremental change in inflation. So that's when they raise interest rates a ton. So people have more trouble loaning money, and that makes it impossible to open businesses, and it just really stifles the economy. And that's what we've seen just lately, is that the GDP, the gross domestic product, what we're producing, the economy is slowing down and starting to fizzle. So they gave us this rate cut, and it's a very insignificant rate cut. I think it went from 3.75 to 3.5 interest rates. And we need to cut it more. We need to just end the Federal Reserve and let banks decide how much money they want to loan a particular person in any circumstance and how much they want to borrow from each other. Because this means the Fed, if they want, can skyrocket interest rates. We had 21% interest rates for a while in the early 1980s, late 1970s. And they have this all power over the economy, and they're trying to exert control, and it's really hurting your lives. So this interest rate is good. We need more of a cut, and eventually we need to cut out this Federal Reserve thing altogether. Centralized control of economies is socialist, it's anti-freedom, and it's anti-what the founding fathers intended. All right, we're going to do a backstory on Derek Chauvin, the officer that was accused of murdering George Floyd. We looked at the body cam footage yesterday, and right when Chauvin entered the picture, we cut it off to do a backstory on him, just like we did on George Floyd. So if you remember, right before Chauvin had put his knee on Floyd's neck, Floyd was resisting arrest. He was foaming at the mouth. They knew he was on drugs. He was saying, "I'm going to die, I'm choking, and I can't breathe," and was screaming. All of those things before Chauvin placed his knee on the neck, just for context. All right, so his backstory. He was born in 1976 in St. Paul, Minnesota. His mother stayed home. His father was an accountant, but they divorced when he was 7. He didn't graduate high school and received a GED after passing the test in 1994 when he was 18 years old. He worked in food preparation for some time before he's serving in the U.S. Army Reserves. He served in the military police, actually, first in Rochester, Minnesota, and then in Bavaria, Germany. He attended Inver Hills Community College in Minneapolis, and later Metropolitan State University in St. Paul, Minnesota, and received a bachelor's degree in law enforcement when he was 30 in 2006. And 5 years before that, he began working at the MPD, the Minneapolis Police Department, where he made outstanding achievements and received 2 medals for valor in 2006 and in 2008, and 2 commendation medals in 2008 and in 2009. Most officers received 0 commendation medals, just for context, and only 1 or 2 medals of valor are given to an officer per year. So he received what only 1 officer usually receives per year in the entire unit 2 times. 2 times. But just as a college degree doesn't necessarily mean you're intelligent, you met the certain requirements of the given institution, I guess these facts and stats by themselves mean the same. Yes, they gave him medals, but what did he do? And that's what we're going to look at. His first Medal of Valor he received was when he and a group of officers were chasing a perpetrator who had accused of a stabbing, and he took out a shotgun and pointed it at them, and Chauvin opened fire, and the other officers followed suit, and they brought the man down. And he received a Medal of Valor for his quick thinking, and they were about to be blown to smithereens, and he neutralized the threat. And the guy died, and deservedly so. His second Medal of Valor happened when he and another officer responded to a domestic violence call at a home, and a man locked himself in the bathroom, and they broke down the door, and the man reached for Chauvin's gun, and they shot him in the stomach. The man ended up surviving, but he got a Medal of Valor, again, for his quick thinking. Yes, so these 2 incidents of Medal of Valor involve bravery and alertness and, street smartness. I guess they are both involve violence and involve Chauvin pulling his gun. And I think that's what most of our liberal friends would say, though he's violent in both of these situations. However, you have to admit that as a cop, when you get a shotgun pointed at you, and when someone tries to reach and steal your gun, I think that's fair game. You have to defend yourself. And I think Chauvin, in these 2 cases, did exactly what was right and definitely deserves these Medals of Valor. Commendation medals. So these are a little bit less, but still important. His first commendation medal was in 2008. He and a partner tackled and apprehended a fleeing suspect who was armed with a pistol. And that was certainly a brave thing to do. And the second commendation medal, this one I think is the most badass, is that a group of gang members with guns got in a massive brawl, and one of them fired their gun. Chauvin was off duty and took out all the gang members single-handedly and seized all of their weapons. And so he got a commendation medal for that. I think that should have been a Medal of Valor. That was certainly a great thing to do. So this man was brave. He was sharp. He was quick to use force. But all things together, through the majority of his career, he seems that he was a very good officer, and more on the violent side. That's for sure. He's had to respond to these types of situations. However, all of these situations that afforded him praise, as I said, involves offensive action, taking people down, shooting people. This kind of action is usually praised, but sometimes there's a drawback when the intuitive response is a little bit higher than what the crime that's committed is. So while his achievements and recommendations exceed most officers by far, so do his complaints of excessive force. There were 18 complaints against them, while most officers have 1. So that is key, because this guy seems like he gets in a situation and gets the job done, and is not afraid to use force when needed. And I think that's what started to get him in trouble. So after the death of Derek Chauvin, when the nation was engulfed in uproar, 2 other incidents came out, both having body cam footage where the left accused him of using excessive force. So the first incident was an African-American mother who had called saying her 14-year-old son had assaulted her. This was September 4th, 2017. The boy's name was John Pope. You can look it up. I will link the body cam footage for that in the description. We don't really have time to go through it, and it's not as necessary to the case. But as it would just, I could just describe it more easily. But if you want to see it, and if you want to make sure I'm telling the truth, I will link it down below. It's incomplete, which is annoying because there's obviously things that they don't want you to see. But what is out there, I will explain to you the best that I can. So the officers arrive. They chat with the mother. Derek Chauvin is one of them. Everyone's very calm. And they go to the boy's room and say, hey, we need you to stand up. And he says, no, I'm not going to do that. And they ask nicely again, we need to stand up. You're under arrest. Nope. And he refuses to comply. He argues with them. And when they come over and start restraining him, he starts fighting back. And it turns into this brawl of screaming. And Derek Chauvin, while this kid's fighting back, trying to neutralize him, takes his flashlight and hits him in the head with the flashlight. And it actually renders him unconscious. Believe what you want about that. A nuanced perspective. I can see why that would be a lot. I probably would not have done that if I was Derek Chauvin. However, I don't think it was super inappropriate for the fact that they had a pretty good-sized young man fighting them and actively resisting arrest. And he was fighting 3 of them at a time and was actually doing pretty good. I see why he would do that. And they had offered him numerous chances. So after he goes unconscious, he restrains him and he does this kneel on the neck procedure to keep him on the ground. Now, there's been a lot of debate whether that's been taught, and I want to go to the MPD police manual right now. I'm at the manual. You can access this yourself. This is the MPD police manual, 5300, use of force. Let me scroll down here to where the restraints are. I believe it's 5311 that talks about. Yes, use of neck restraints. Neck restraints are a non-deadly force option. So they're not deadly. Right here. This is not a deadly force. It's in the manual. It's defined as compressing one or both sides of a person's neck with an arm or leg without applying direct pressure to the trachea or airway, the front of the neck. So if he was kneeling on the front of the neck, that would be wrong. But this is the side of the neck or back of the neck. Only sworn employees who have received training from the MPD training unit are authorized to use neck restraints, because you have to get this certain angle of the neck restraint, or else you can compress the carotid arteries that bring blood to the brain, and you can render someone unconscious, and after a while they can die if they don't get that blood flow to the brain. So there's certain angles on the sides of your neck that you need to do. In the back of your neck, obviously it can cause spinal and nerve issues if you don't have the exact angle. So there's 2 types of neck restraints. There's a conscious neck restraint and an unconscious neck restraint. So the subject is placed in a neck restraint with intent to control and not to render the subject unconscious by only applying light to moderate pressure. And then there's an unconscious neck restraint. The subject is placed in a neck restraint with the intention of rendering the person unconscious by applying adequate pressure. So that's what would block the blood flow to the brain. The conscious neck restraint may be used against a subject who is actively resisting. And the unconscious neck restraint shall only be applied in the following circumstances: on a subject who is exhibiting active aggression for life-saving purposes, or on a subject who is exhibiting active resistance in order to gain control of the subject, and if lesser attempts at control have been or would likely be ineffective. So what Chauvin did with this John Pope kid is that he used this neck restraint after the kid was already unconscious, after he had knocked him out with the flashlight. So that the flashlight makes sense to me, but then he brings him on the ground and uses this neck restraint, this conscious neck restraint, even when he's not actively resisting. So we need to call him out for this. This was against the books. This is foreign to the books. This is clearly, he broke the Minneapolis Police Department manual by using this. However, this is not deadly force. it's not going to kill you. He used these right angles that will not compress these veins. Hold on one second. Yeah, so he's kneeling on this kid's neck for 15 minutes. The kid wakes up. The kid says, he does have trouble breathing. It's not really bad trouble breathing. It's not like I can't breathe. It's more like it's harder to breathe. I mean, when you're in a neck restraint. But he's talking. They end up calling the paramedics because he's bleeding from his ear, from the hit from the flashlight. The MPD supervisor and Sergeant Lucas Peterson shows up at the scene. He is Derek Chauvin's supervisor. Sees no problem with it, even though it went against the books in practice. The paramedics also found nothing wrong with it when they arrived and saw him there. The neck restraint that was used caused no physical harm, apart from the fact that it was very uncomfortable for the boy. He was fine. He wasn't in medical harm at all. But these neck restraints aren't used because of the discomfort they use. Is very it's not beneficial after someone's already after the threat is already neutralized. It is not necessary after they've stopped actively resisting. And kid says, "Hey, can you get off my neck?" And he says, "Are you going to start flopping around again?" That's he did not want the kid to resist again, so he keeps his knee there. So by the books, that is not allowed. But it seems like the police department was taking liberties because and using it in contexts that weren't specifically allowed in the books because it wasn't a deadly force option, and it was easy to keep subjects under control. I think just looking at the books, just looking at the manuals, this was wrong on Derek Chauvin, and this was wrong on Lucas Peterson to allow this. I believe that the police department needs to operate by the books. And yes, so I will call out Derek Chauvin for that. But there was no injury. The angle, kneeling on the neck, back of the neck and side of the neck was obviously not deadly force. He did this again with a black teen, Zoya Code. Her mother called and said that she had tried to strangle her with an extension cord. We don't have the body cam footage for this one, so I don't know as much context. But the police were brutal with her after she tried to resist arrest. Not crazy brutal, but they picked her up by her legs and the other ones by her hands, and then they went out on the grass and dropped her on the grass. Not super far, but a lot of people said it was unnecessary. I mean, if you try and strangle your mother with an extension cord, I don't think you have that much ground to stand on. And he uses the neck restraint. Again, Derek Chauvin shows up and does this neck restraint, even though she's not actively resisting. She says it's painful, but it obviously didn't put her in any medical harm. And I will link both of these cases down in the description. So what I can take away from this is that he was taking liberties, and so was the MPD, that weren't by the books. This obviously was a painful thing that caused pain to people, but it was not deadly, it was not lethal, and we'll see why when we watch the George Floyd thing, and then we'll look at what the original autopsy of George Floyd determined what actually happened to him. Yes, so I'm going to call him out. Wasn't by the books. They were taking liberties. That is wrong, but this in no way would lead to death or serious medical injury. They were well trained in that regard. The second thing I want to address is this racist, because a lot of the left will use these cases. See, there's a common theme. John Pope, George Floyd, Zoya Code. These are black people that he's being violent with. That isn't true. A lot of the complaints were from white people. In fact, his letter of reprimand for pulling the woman out of her car and searching her, that was a white woman. His 2 letters of reprimand had to do with a white woman. There's no evidence that he ever used derogatory language or showed any, racial prejudice in these cases. So that will lead us up to the beginning of where Derek Chauvin shows up on the George Floyd thing. And tomorrow we will analyze the body cam footage of him kneeling on the neck. And then after that, we are going to eventually determine what happened using the autopsy and how the autopsy was changed, oddly enough. But thanks for going with me through this case. And yeah, that will be it for today. It's time to look at our new batch of movie trailers, see which ones I'll actually ever watch. So we're going to start with this one, the Copenhagen test. It comes out on December 27th of this year. Oops, hold on.
Our intel chain is compromised.
How long have you willingly been committing treason against the United States government?
Already don't like it.
What? You're the mole, Alexander.
Gotta have a black woman protagonist and everything.
Through you.
You're telling me it's real?
That's a Wi-Fi signal streaming.
I'm not racist, guys. I'm just joking. But, like, they do, like, obviously try and put black women in everything. And it's, like, a little annoying. Like, we know what you're doing. You're trying to do this racial quota thing. So why don't we just act normal and not have to shove race down people's throats? That would be nice.
In your head, you were hacked.
We can either attempt to remove what's in your brain, or we keep the hack open. Yeah, that. We need
It's
to
horrible.
infiltrate his life.
They're cute together. He has to trust you. They want me
It's
to
too many women in this. Too many women.
Keeping an eye on me. From this moment forward, your life is mine.
This is the longest minute in my life.
Tell me why you chose me. We need whoever is watching to think that you are in the clear now. Then we use you to find them and destroy them. I'm ready.
He's conflicted, but he's on board.
How do you know that you're doing the right thing?
Be grateful for all the things you don't know.
Sorry, guys, when those scenes come up. You know, those scenes, I don't know when they're going to be in a trailer.
What anybody says.
I'll put viewer discretion advised at the bottom.
We either save the mission or save his life.
Are you in?
Horrible. Another crappy special effects action movie with women protagonists that has no good story, and yeah, it just looks horrible. Yeah, I'd rather die than go see that movie. Supergirl, I was thinking about skipping because it obviously is going to suck, but we'll watch it anyway, maybe just to rage bait me.
Is that an iPhone 17? Switch to T-Mobile in just 15 minutes.
You get a new iPhone 17 on them with its awesome camera, and they'll even deliver it the same day.
Switch to T-Mobile in just 15 minutes. Get a new iPhone 17 on us with same-day delivery.
Why am I wearing a tutu?
You managed to get most of it on the paper this time. Good job, buddy.
Oh, it's DC. Another crappy DC movie. Big surprise.
Your ride is clear. The 23 will be the best year yet. Let's be honest, babe. It's not a very high bar to clear.
She always drunk?
I didn't know any of you were still alive. What was it like to lose everything in a day?
Another woman protagonist. What am I saying, guys?
The gods are not that kind. Okay, this does not look like this is gonna
Let me guess, they're gonna fight them all.
For you guys.
Girl power. Shut the fuck up.
Do you have this on your part? How's Mikey? No, it's a pretty small group of two. Look, Superman like that. He sees the good in everyone. and I see the truth.
They already have Wonder Woman. What the fuck is Supergirl? Seriously? I don't know anything about comics, guys, so if I'm just not in the loop, just tell me, but yeah, no. Okay, I gotta find something that I'll actually like on here. We did Spider-Man, it wasn't even a trailer. Ooh, another Hunger Games one. The last good movie that I saw in theaters was The Hunger Games. The last Hunger Games one, it came out like a year or two ago. It's mainly because Rachel Zegler was in it, but I changed my mind about her after she like freaked out about Snow White and everything. No, that was still a pretty good movie overall. It certainly kept my attention. But let's see this new one. Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping.
Welcome, Panem, to the glorious reaping of District 12.
Already a million times better.
Twice the number of tributes. Twice the glory. It's time for the second quarter quell. Let the 50th Hunger Games begin!
I think these games are going to be different.
Cool logo thing. Sunrise on the Reaping. Yeah, another same old Hunger Games movie. I like the formula though. I like those movies. I know I sound like a hypocrite. I was just complaining about women in action roles, and that's literally what this is. I think it was before they like shoved it down your throat. And although I think that is annoying when they like put women in action roles because it's not realistic at all, this one's okay. It keeps my attention. It's actually interesting. It actually has a well thought out story. So while it's not ideal, hey, they're good movies, they're good books, and I don't mind it. I don't really mind it. All right, that'll be it for today. Thank you for watching America Only, and we'll see you tomorrow.